It's time for Savings Pill. We're going to save you money by making you your very own capes. You can be Anna and Elsa. You can be all of the characters from all your favorite movies you've ever wanted to be.
You can, you sure can. Capes, easy, fun, and you could always use them around the house year after year. Tess Poe is the owner of Bee Hive Sewing in Northampton. She joins us to show you how I would totally walk around my house as Elsa.
You could probably clean things and dust stuff if it was long enough.
You could. So you're modeling our Anna and Elsa capes, which is great. You can use them, as you said, Halloween, after Halloween, etc. So easy. We have a third cape, which is just a plain old regular. You can use this for vampires. You can use this for magicians, zombies, whomever else wears capes. So let's go ahead and get started and make the Elsa cape. If we have some time, we'll make this one as well.
Okay, sounds great.
So our Elsa cape is going to be 2 yards of tulle. So tulle, really easy to find. You know, comes in a lot of colors. Of course, for Elsa, I have white, and I'm using a pale blue ribbon, but you can use any color that you'd like. 2 yards for your average child, but you've got 2 yards there and you're tiny, so that's enough fabric for you. That's
but see, I would love to have a train, so that when I walk, it trails behind me.
Maybe 4 yards.
Maybe 4
that
yards,
would be better.
yeah.
So what are we gonna do? We're just gonna take our 2 yards of tulle and fold it in half. So I've got a fold right over here at the top, and all I've done is slide a ribbon in that fold and pin it, and now I'm just gonna stitch a channel down here so that that ribbon is secure in there.
Right.
And we're going to stitch it on the end. And then what you can do for Elsa as well is, if you're so inclined and you have some elastic at home, just put a little loop of elastic on the end here so that you can put it around the child's arms, and then you don't have to worry about tying it around the neck or tying it to
so it's like wings.
Anything else. Right. So in the sewing machine here, I'm using a dark blue thread so you can see a little better, because that tulle is really translucent.
But if people were doing it at home, maybe go with a white.
Exactly, yep. And we're just gonna go.
So scale of 1 to 10, this is pretty easy.
This is 10 being the easiest.
10.
This is probably a 15.
All right.
This is so super easy. In fact, what you could do is actually make this a no-sew project and just weave your ribbon through the tulle. So just fold it in half, weave your ribbon through, and you'll have a nice little channel.
Oh, so you would just cut little holes to weave it through.
Exactly, yeah. And then, just, as you gather it up, you'll see that the more tulle you have, the more kind of full and fluffy and fun it gets.
So that's if you don't have a sewing machine.
Right.
This is so easy.
Now, how much do you think this whole project costs?
It's probably about maybe $10. I would say maybe even less than that. So all I'm going to do is pull this ribbon just a little bit so that it gets nice and taut, and then I'm going to just stitch it down so that the ribbon itself doesn't slide around in here anymore.
Yes.
And that way, and then.
Does that mean just going back and forth a few times?
Yep, I'm just going to go back and forth over it. Again, if you're using white thread, you're not really going to see this. I'm just going to go forwards a couple stitches, backwards a couple stitches, forwards again, and then I'm just going to cut my threads. And
you do it to ideally both sides, and then you call it a day.
Yep, and in fact, I already did the first side. When no one was looking, I did the first side.
She's
so that is gonna be
your cake.
Elsa.
Here you go, Ashley, we'll add it to yours.
Oh, yes,
So make
double
it look
the fun.
Just when you thought you couldn't have it as much
go.
cape, there's more cape for you. Now, what's the
great.
next cape we're gonna
So
make?
this one, let's have a look at the kind of standard magician's cape. And this is gonna be great if you have something like an old sheet, an old tablecloth, a great big piece of fabric.
Right?
Who doesn't? So what we're gonna do is fold our fabric in half and in half again. So I have a great big piece of, this is called tack cloth. This is actually waterproof nylon, which is great, especially if it's going to be rainy out on Halloween. It's going to be a little bit warmer. So I'm folding it in half again. So I've got 4 layers of fabric here.
So we've quartered it.
We've quartered it,
Okay.
yep. And at the top corner here, where all 4 layers meet, you'll see I've drawn a little semicircle. And that's going to be the neck hole. And the way that I've measured it is based on kind of a standard size for most kids and adult necks. I just measured about 3 inches down from each corner and just connected the arc. So Ashley, you can go ahead and just cut right on that semicircle.
Okay, easy enough.
Easy enough. And you'll see that I've pinned together this fabric because I always find it funny that for Halloween, folks who don't sew take on projects and then end up sewing with really challenging fabrics, things that are slippery and shiny and furry and fuzzy, and that can be really hard. So just pin your fabric layers together so that they don't slide around on you.
But I give you a lot of credit if you don't sew and you sew for Halloween. Like my sister's sewing my daughters, and Wow, I think I would just end up failing.
It's great. So I'm cutting the same semicircle just further down our big square here.
And with awesome scissors.
And I'm using pinking shears just to show you that a lot of times for Halloween costumes, because we are using these tricky fabrics and you may not want to do a lot of sewing or a lot of hemming, if you use your pinking shears, you'll end up with nicer edges. You won't have to worry about things fraying, etc. So I'm going to take out my pins and then I'm just going to make one last cut to show you. So right now we've got a great big circle with a hole in it.
Like a Christmas tree skirt.
Exactly, which is a great project to do if you're antsy for holiday projects.
I'm gonna make my own.
I'm gonna cut down one of these folds here, which is gonna be the front of our cape. And this is now the basic shape of our cape. And Seth already has our Anna cape on.
I would love to go for another cape though.
And the last thing that we're just gonna have to do is stitch some ties on here. So it's the easiest thing. What I've used for ties on the sample is some old hem tape, which is like wide bias tape. I've just folded it in half and stitched it right around here. You could also use some grosgrain ribbon. You could use another piece of the fabric that you already had, and we can go ahead and do that if you want. We can make some ties for you. I don't know if we have enough time, but
I was gonna say we might be able to do that, but what I want to show people too is the cape I took off, because who's this, Ashley? You're
This
the
is
star.
Anna.
You know this stuff.
From Frozen.
Anna, and this one is very easy because it's just two pieces cut together. Is that right?
So the Anna cape is really simple, and you don't need a lot of fabric for this cape. So I'm going to flip it over so you can see the back side. We've got two pieces of fabric that were just big rectangles, and we folded our rectangles in half and then rounded the corners. So we rounded the corners on this side, rounded the corners on this side, and then on the other piece of fabric, we've just rounded it on one edge. So we ended up with one long straight edge. We placed our fabric down kind of like a T, sort of like this, stitched across the top, and what happens when you do that is you end up with those really sweet kind of rounded
the shoulder
parts
pads
in the front.
almost.
Now for Anna, of course, you know, I just put some black ribbon here that has a little bit of fringe on the edge, but certainly you could go ahead and do some swirly ribbon, or, you know, even use fabric markers, even use fabric paint. You know, you don't have to go all out, but this is the easiest thing in the world. It's your two rectangles. One of them has rounded corners on both sides, one has rounded corners on one side, and you're just stitching them together like a T.
Tess Poe.
Oh my
You're
gosh,
good.
you're making kids' dreams come true.
And you're making parents' dreams come true because it's so much cheaper.
It's
so
so much
easy.
cheaper. Yep, yeah. So I've used some red corduroy, but if you have an old fleece blanket, a pink fleece blanket, something like that, that would be a terrific thing to repurpose for
Make
Anna.
it happen. Talk
Yeah.
about inexpensive. Thanks so much, Tess.
Thank you. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Check out this.
You good? You good for Halloween?
I feel like a frozen princess. All right. Thank you, Tess.
Fantastic.